All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Bourbon Banter. Evans, Justin, kind of a setup we have today.
Well, it's 2025. I figured we'd start out with something a little different. We got Alan on camera. We're going to do similar to other videos you've seen before on YouTube, but this is going to be called the Bourbon Hot Ones. So as the bourbon is blind, the questions are uncut and unfiltered. So we're going to interview Alan. So Alan's a main component with Augusta Bourbon Society here locally, which is a pretty big society. And he's also, we met while doing the Bourbon World things at the store, so we're going to ask you some questions and then talk about these fine whiskeys in front of us. Now, it is double blind for him. Charles and I know what they are.
Yes.
Charles will be trying some of them for the first time as well.
Yep.
I will not. I've tried everything already, but that's completely fine. We chose this for sure, and then we're going to let you know eventually what each one is as we go through these questions. Sound good to you?
It's great. Let's do it.
All right, so Charles, 2025, let's start out the new year.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hit that like and subscribe. Also, you have bourbon socks on?
I do have bourbon socks on, yes. And then I'm back surgery's going better. I can actually lift my leg up.
There we go.
And so I might be able to get it on camera one time.
Yeah.
Nope. Background says no.
All right.
Hey, at least I almost tied my shoe the other day.
That's
PT's going good.
That's a great thing. Progress is always good.
All right, that being said, don't forget, 2 days from today when we do this filming, it is Prohibition Day. So drink up while you can because Prohibition starts in 2 days on the 17th.
Yep.
All right, that being said, Alan, this is up to you. You're going to go in your order. Just don't go out of order. You can go 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, whatever you want to do. We're going to mirror what you do. We're going to interview you, ask you some questions about the bourbon boom, the bourbon bubble, or what we named the burble.
That's a good one. Yeah.
The bourbon market. So I got my cheat notes here for questions because I can keep up with data in my head, but questions are a little bit different for me.
Yep.
Nice. I think I'm going to go as complicated as possible and go from my left to my right.
Okay.
All right, one it is. So,
all right. First one.
Bert, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining in on the video. We even custom made glasses in the background on our glass blowing facility for the mini glens for Alan. It's completely not true.
Just sounds good. All right.
All right, so Alan, as we start this first one and we're nosing it, when did you get into bourbon?
Oh my gosh. That would have been in November, I believe, of 22?
Really? Okay.
Or 21, 22.
So
one of the two.
So going on maybe 2 years, 3 years max.
Yes, absolutely. I am. It's definitely a newer thing for me. But when I fell off that slippery slope, I fell hard, and I've been sliding faster and faster ever since. So it's been a ride.
So you appreciate the ride and the dive straight in.
100%.
Which was going to be one of my next questions as we dive straight into this first whiskey. Did you go head first in, or did you just gradually get in like a zero gravity pool of bourbon?
Yeah, so for me, if you're going to do it based on analogy here, I took the tiniest initial step and I slipped immediately on that step. It was my first time in a bar, and I had just tried an old fashioned, and I said, holy smokes, what is this stuff? And somebody said, well, you know, that's actually like vast majority of that is just straight bourbon. I said, well, then I'm going to need to try some bourbon. And I was at a bar, and a bartender said, you've never tasted bourbon? I said, I really have not. Poured a little pour of Eagle Rare, and I said, holy smokes, it's done.
Not a bad way to start either.
Yeah, I said, it's done. And that was it. That's how I got started.
Well, excellent. I appreciate that. That was a good question, good answer. Take a sip of that. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
And let everybody else know. Thanks for joining in. Again, as Charles has said before, like and subscribe.
Yep, give us that thumbs up.
This, I'm going to say, if I can bring a little bit of information on this one, this has never traditionally been one of my favorites. Just off the record.
Right.
You know. And so Alan has been into this long enough to be dangerous about getting into too far and getting into the nerdy part, which is like my side. So he really likes that. So we have a lot of good banter going back and forth as far as I know, which he always helps out on the background. So we brought him on. He's a perfect candidate for these questions, the way it's going on, because I've been in it since 05. You've been in it since 12.
Yep.
And then Alan's been in it since 22-ish. So that's a good group of years going around and see. Now, here's the next question. You can move on to the next pour. You can continue with that one, however you want to go with this video.
Give us a little thoughts on it.
Yeah. First, that's right. Okay, what thoughts on the pour?
So, something very off-putting on this, but let me tell you, there is a huge amount of sweetness that I really like on this. Wow, kind of a really rich, deep caramel, but at the same time, a lot of funky bitter.
I like the fact that you brought out some off-putting notes on it, which is why it's not one of my favorite ones to drink. So that we align on. The sweetness, not so much. I get a little bit more spice on this one.
I do too.
Oh, really?
I get it up front. I get the spice up front, the tingle up front.
But that could be muted from you matching spice with spice from earlier food.
That is true. Don't get me wrong.
Would you
what I would
drink
call
Would you drink?
Would you drink it?
it's in the mid to back that it turns so sweet to me, but on the front I've got just so much off-putting bitter, really hard bitter.
Okay, I definitely agree with five. So
and
again,
certainly the spice.
Yep. No, definitely agree with that.
background looking okay as far as since we're standing for the first video of 2025.
Yeah, Charles wants to move that way just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Everybody's good now.
We'll get everybody back in the order.
Back in order. Yeah. So all right, moving on to the next one.
So yeah, I've got a question for you. So this was your first instance getting into this, or were you into anything else before that? Maybe beer, anything of that nature?
No, so I went to Ole Miss, always each year rated one of the top party schools in the country, and I got through my entirety of my collegiate education
Look what you've done, Bourbon.
with zero taste of alcohol in my life. No wine, no beer, no nothing.
So again, this interview is perfect for what we're doing. So go ahead and let's grab your second one. Which one are you gonna go? You're still staying in order.
Go number
All right.
two.
So going on to number 2, and you can continue as you sniff
awesome.
around on that. He went from teetotaler to prohibition started in his world, and he said, "I got to have some of this illegal stuff."
That is exactly
Was
what
that
happened.
old fashioned that just got you into it?
It was, and it was at a very nice restaurant. They did a good job, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Will you take a little sip of this?" And she actually even said, "That is really good. How interesting." And I've been chasing it ever since.
Oh, okay. So that's another good one. Do you chase / hunt, which I'm not a big fan of that? Do you chase bourbon, or do you just happen upon it? What is your purchasing habits as far as do you go out and camp and things like that? So what do you do having been in it 2 to 3 years? What is your style of obtaining bourbon? And then we're going to get to those heavier questions as we get into the heavier pours of how many bottles.
Oh my gosh. So, do we need that?
inventory.
Do we need to
Hey,
that on the
as
public discourse?
the double blinds go on, the questions stay uncut and unfiltered.
There we go. All right, let's put it out there. So when it comes to, all right, what was the first part of that question?
No, I was just asking if you got into it, if you were into anything else before you got into bourbon. So you answered that. Yep, we're good.
You're good on that one.
All right, so in that case,
And so now we are straight up going into what is your habit to acquire these bottles? Do you hunt? Do you chase? Do you camp? Do you go to Louisville and camp out for different lines? And
Or
things
is it
like
just
that?
if you go in the store, you see something, get it, or that type of thing?
Both, all of
Okay.
it, all of the above. But definitely, I will chase. If there's something new that's happening, and I'm thinking, man, I really would like to get a hold of that, I'm not going to just leave it to chance. I'm going to go and pursue.
So I do like the pursuit option.
Yep.
So that's nice. So what is your thought as far as pursuing this whiskey?
Yep.
If you tried it,
Number
would you
2.
pursue this one? And the answer to that is most people would.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know what it is yet.
Yeah. Hit that like, that thumbs up, and let's subscribe, guys.
A lot of really nice oak on this, and balanced sweetness.
This is a good pour.
Very
That
good.
is, yeah. So my first initial sip there, and I must say, guys, with all the junk that's going around right now and the viral bugs and everything, I had my go at it a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm still just getting some of
Kinda
my
getting
taste
back.
back.
Yeah.
So you'll have to excuse me.
Which is,
However,
as long as you enjoy it,
The
that's
thing
all.
is,
this is a really nice pour.
All right, so while you're diving into that pour and still breaking it down, do you think that you'll stop if bourbon becomes unfun? My motto for the longest of time is don't get mad at bourbon.
I can understand.
There's
that.
really no point. You can get upset that you didn't make it in time or get your number called for a lottery or things like that. Like, oh, dang, man, no, that's just it. But I'm not mad at the whiskey.
No.
So if it becomes unfun, will you stop? Or is it just like, I really like it and enjoy it. I'm going to continue on this pattern of acquiring, having, collecting, drinking, enjoying with friends, company, having stories, memories, and things like that.
I was going to say, that's really been the key element for me, is that when I discovered that the taste was fun, and then I discovered the different pours that are out there, discovering the nuances was a lot of fun just within each individual pour. But that was just within my first several few tastes of what bourbon could be. After that, what I discovered was it was the relationships and it's the good times. It was fun. The best bourbon is the one shared with friends. No question.
Indeed.
And so
Cheers to that. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, heck yeah. And so from that, I would say It's really been more fun hanging with people, and so even though I enjoy chasing bourbon, it's really more the chase to then bring back and enjoy.
Yep.
With friends. And sometimes it's always first and foremost the people that you're with, but after that, it can be magnified when you have that really, really special pour on the table. That can make an occasion even all the more special. And so it is fun chasing some of those special bottles.
Makes complete sense. And this is coming from somebody that's only been in it, again, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Completely different outlook from where Charles might be, from where I might be. Now, I'll have one more question and I'll let you go.
Yeah, go for it.
So my question is, did you start going for the big bottles first, or did you gradually ease into bourbon and then realize that, oh, there are bigger bottles that exist. I need some, we'll throw out names, Taylor, Winkle, B-Tac, stuff like that? Or did you start like, I'm hunting, chasing that because I know what that is based off of social media and other people talking about them, and that's just like, oh, that must be the best, everybody wants it? Or did you say, you know what, there's 1792, there's Elijah Craig, there's Larceny, let's try those, and oh, I like that, and let's step our way up?
Yeah, so as soon as I got that first taste of Eagle Rare, I said, well, I've got to go find some Eagle Rare. Well, we're in a land flowing with milk and honey when it comes to Eagle Rare. It grows on trees in the backyard.
Thank you to our market for that.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
And that we know that could change at any time.
Yep.
But right now, we've been very blessed in that regard. However, when you're first getting into this and you don't walk into the correct store and you don't know the correct store to walk into, for me, my first bottle of Eagle Rare sitting in Augusta, Georgia, where again it grows on trees, I paid $100 for my first bottle of Eagle Rare, and was one of the first bottles of liquor that I purchased.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So before Charles's question, to finish this question off, that's awesome that you said you spent $100 on that.
Yeah.
Because other markets that don't have it still have it priced that way.
Yep.
When he found out and got himself educated in a brief, short, week,
Yeah.
and dove straight in, like we talked about earlier, he just straight off a cliff, and which has been great fun for us. More pours to go around. $40. Yeah. And so that's a good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So now, all right, Charles, I'll stop cutting you off.
Oh,
for
no,
questions.
I mean, it's even just like, remember we had a dry spell of Eagle Rare here. I was in Iowa, and I ended up bringing bottles of Eagle Rare back because we couldn't get it here for a while.
I remember that.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? So we gonna move it on to 3?
What you break it down while he moves on to 3
Oh,
about number
so,
2, and then Charles will ask you a question.
Fantastic sweetness. There's an incredible amount of oak on this that's just really pleasant. I actually haven't taken a sip of this one since we last spoke about it, though.
Oh, you don't have to. I was just
just curious.
We can move on to number 3.
Yeah. Well, now I got a question for
Nice,
you.
low
So
proof, easy sipping, love it.
yeah, you got into old fashions. We've seen some of your videos of doing old fashions. So is there anything that you would not make an old fashioned with?
Oh gosh.
Position?
That I own personally, I don't know if that would be the case, because I don't own anything that would have a value of more than a couple of $1,000s. And where that might sound crazy, there are bottles that get into like the 10 and 15 and 20, $25,000 range, and there is a certain point where you just kind of have to say, listen, if you're not a multi-millionaire, that would just be so incredibly stupid. Yeah. So anything outside of that, bourbon's meant to be enjoyed. And
we did have a video. Go back and check it out as far as like the bourbon market and things like that. And what's the point when they put out a $7,500 Weller product? So you are correct. They got $15,000, $20,000 bottles.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah,
I couldn't. If there was a Weller Millennium sitting right here, there's no way I could mix that into an old fashioned.
Okay, so
take a Van Winkle 15, make an old fashioned with it?
I would totally do that.
Okay.
I'd go rye first.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's
fair.
go rye first, and then let's do the 15.
No, that's absolutely fair.
Okay.
And yes, I would absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But I'd probably need to be a couple of pours in first.
Hey, makes sense. So, to date, what was the most obnoxious old-fashioned, which we are still waiting for him to edit the last one?
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, you were supposed to edit it after we did the filming.
Oh, hey. Forthcoming. It's going to be fun.
Just tune in. Thanks for joining. Like and subscribe, and we'll wait for the next one.
Exactly.
That he does. His videos are awesome. He does editing. We don't.
What is the craziest, obnoxious old-fashioned that I've had?
That you've had.
Oh, man. That George T. Stagg had to be up there. Didn't we do
that?
one?
Was really good, though.
Was it, though?
It was spectacular.
I don't know if we did a video of it or a little small short. We did one with my infinity bottle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Of course, very complex.
Yeah, that one was a little bit different because it's a suicide of stuff that
Sure.
is just like, wow.
The other thing we got to keep remembering, we have some we need to add to those.
Oh yeah,
Bringing that
that's
up. Sorry.
true. Yeah, no, that was a good point.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, we on to number 3.
Yeah, let's do it.
Uncut,
All right.
unfiltered.
We
Number
move
3.
forward as the
Number 3 is
as the
good.
double blind whiskey moves forward.
I'm curious.
Questions
between
get
2 and
uncut
3.
and unfiltered still.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm
Or it
curious
could be
between 2
spicy depending on the whiskey.
Could be. I don't know. 3's good. 2's good too. Looking at your cheat sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cheap. Why did you choose bourbon to continue to obtain it? Was it the flavor that kept you in it? This is a short question. So was it the flavor that got you in? Was it the chase that kept you in? Because you've already talked about what you started in, but why are you still going? So
the first time that I tried bourbon, I said, okay, so this is really good.
okay, so
The second, third, fourth,
quality.
fifth time that I tried bourbon, I said, oh my gosh, bourbon can be very, very different.
Yes.
And so I said, well, now what in the world is out there? And then very quickly, within just a matter of short weeks, I became knowledgeable of what was considered amazing whiskey and what was considered less amazing whiskey, which, by the way, is always in the eye of the beholder. There are some $15 and $20 bottles out there that I will sip all night long with you guys.
Charles, how many times have you been saying that?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's
I mean,
everybody has their own.
Everybody
palate.
has their own taste, and guess what? And taste change too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, special pours can absolutely be special. If that means it's because it's a rare bottle or because it's an expensive bottle or both, that's great. But it can just about be as special based on your palate with something that is not very expensive, something that's
For
very,
sure.
very common.
Okay, so now that we're on the third pour, moving in, let's make this question a little bit more challenging. I know that you've only been 2 to 3 years, which we've mentioned that. We got the start. We got the why he's still going strong, which is always good. We got the fun. We got the old fashions. What about if you were going to make your own whiskey, aka bourbon? What is your mash bill?
Oh my gosh.
What's your recipe? You don't have to give us yeast strains. Obviously, that's a way beyond engineering stuff there. But would you do a wheater? Would you do a rye? Would you do a high rye? Would you do a standard rye? Would you do a standard mash? Would you do a 4 grain? Like, what would you? If on the spot, one time, one answer, real quick. The questions are getting more challenging.
Because we're on 3.
I'm going to say that I would probably enjoy producing a wheated whiskey.
Okay, a wheat whiskey. Not a
that's
wheat bourbon, just a wheat whiskey. Like a Bernheim.
You know what? Let's say wheated bourbon.
Wheated bourbon.
Wheated
Okay,
bourbon.
okay.
Let's go that direction.
I like that.
If I was going to produce something, that is probably the direction I would go, as opposed to 51% or higher wheat. I'd probably stay more in the 20 to 30 range.
Okay.
percent.
What do you think about the glass in your hand right now?
Everybody hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe, please.
And cheers. What's in
Yes.
your glass?
Let us know in the comments what kind of questions would you? We're thinking about doing this again. What kind of questions you want us to ask some people?
Yeah, we're gonna do some
Anything.
interviews moving
Yeah,
forward. So
yeah.
comment some questions that we should ask.
Or anything that we might be missing. And then
We
we'll
would
see-
tell you what the whiskey is, but you gotta wait till the end.
Exactly.
The sweetness on this is much brighter and less depth to me, or less dark and more bright, more light.
Would you drink it? I think we asked that on the first one. Forgot about the second one.
Yep.
Oh,
Would you drink it?
I definitely would drink that second one.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And this one I would too. This one it's got a little bit of a twinge on the back that's interesting. Kind of gives me a little tingle on the back of the tongue,
Okay.
kind of towards the finish. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, do you see an end in sight? Is there eventually going to come a time where you're going to say, "I've had enough bottles. I've got enough. It's time for me to stop
I know I have a
And
great
just-
transition question after this.
and
Keep
just
going.
start drinking. Just start drinking them and just take a hiatus from buying for right now."
I think that the answer to that is you kind of have to know where you're at financially always, because
Right.
this is such an expensive habit. And then the other thing is
Not as much as golf.
Oh yeah. Or what the craziest thing is that bourbon goes very well with golf. So now you're doing both at the same time, and you're just doubling
That's a
that
great
stuff.
point. Thank you for
That's
that.
a very
point.
good point.
Look, it only took 2 to 3 years of experience to realize that bourbon and golf is a thing.
Right.
And cigars.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keenan in the background.
Keenan.
Bourbon, cigars, and golf.
Oh
you know.
yeah.
So now we have a $15 stick, a $30 pour, and a $150 round of
Yeah.
golf.
$30 pour for the first
That's
half.
a good
It's
Saturday.
another $30 pour for the second. For
Oh,
the second
but
night.
that just depends. Are you using a Scotty Cameron putter? That could change everything.
Yes,
you
it
know?
could. No, the third one. I mean, I see what you're coming from. I don't get the little twinge at the back, but that's, again, all palates are different.
Not in a negative way.
Yeah,
just
something.
little tingle.
Just a
all
little
of sudden.
tingle.
It lets you know it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said, it makes sense what you said. Financially sound, being on where you are, or at least not necessarily sound, but knowing not to go above and beyond. And I like that.
Also, I would say inventory. What does the space look like at your house? If it's
Yeah, you
coming
gotta
out
have a place
of
to
your
store
ears,
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to have a place to put it. And some places are more conducive to that
So
than others.
my transition period transition question, uncut, unfiltered.
Yep.
Week number 3, how many bottles did you have? And the questions get harder. Today, how many bottles do you have?
At week number 3
Yep.
of bourbon,
So you're just under a month in and exciting because you tried it. Now you had Eagle Rare. You said, I got to go get some of those. How many did you have at week 3? Rough. You don't have to be exact. I don't know at week 3 in 2005 where I was at. So.
I was close to 8 bottles, I think, at week 3. Just
And
trying
I've met
different
a lot
things.
of people
Yep.
that have a less than 10 and they have it displayed on their bar very nicely. It looks
Yeah.
really good. And they're so excited to try it. And they're super happy to have you have a pour of it and join in. And then it's just the snowball effect.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that snowball goes downhill fast.
It does,
It
real fast.
was dangerously fast.
So
yeah.
no exact numbers. You can say north of this number. You don't have. We're not
Yeah.
trying to get in your super business or anything like that. We're not going to be like that. But if someone was to ask me right now, I have to say north of a couple hundred to be realistic. And so, but I'm not giving you the exact number. So where are you at today?
I'll just say.
How far
that,
did you jump in the deep end?
How deep did you go?
I'll give you a pretty substantial clue when I say that I've definitely got more than 100 bottles, right?
Okay.
Well, given that I started with 8
Yeah.
within the first 3 weeks, where I'm at today, we'll just say it's an order of magnitudes. So if you just
Understand.
if you just keep putting those zeros
Yep.
on there, you'll
I
get to a
understand.
number that you would assume.
You'll eventually get it.
they'll
That's
get there.
right.
And I
That's
can't
right.
wait to see your room when it's finished. It's looking really good so far. He's got a nice room going. I'm not saying that my room is not nice or not nice, but his is going to be a different style. I've wrapped the room. His is going up in a box style that I really like. So that'd be a cool thing to see. Obviously, we don't do too much public stuff. We keep the camera angles where we want them
Yep.
and stuff like that. So now, moving on to number 4, because this is the last one. So cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you guys for joining in.
Yep. Hit
What's
that-
in your glass?
And we'll hit that like and subscribe. Oh yeah, different nose.
All right, now comes the fun questions of that moment of silence as we all sniff this last one. Let me go ahead and give you the information you need on this one. My glass is different than yours on purpose. On purpose.
Yep.
It is very similar, but yet it
Mine
is
is the same.
extremely different. They are drinking the same thing. They've never had it. I've had it.
I've not had
And
it.
so I chose a different route.
Whoa.
Can you pick out anything on this table in a double blind? The questions get harder, uncut and unfiltered, always.
Can I actually name?
Yeah.
What's
Do
on
you
the
think
table?
you know anything
Is
that
there
you're drinking?
out of all 4 of these?
Well, this is remarkably similar, or familiar, I should say.
But yeah, so just think about it, what you've had, and then that's the hard question is, can you name it? Do you think you can, they used to do this to me all the time at the
Yep.
bar. They'd go get me a random drink, and then I'd take a couple sips, and I'd be like, oh, that's Rock Hill. I haven't had it in 2 years.
Right.
And then I stopped doing that because I started concentrating on what the whiskey was instead of did I like the whiskey.
Right.
I was so engulfed on oh, I can figure this out.
Yeah, it gets
Stop
to
doing that.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you're just sitting there going, you're just trying to figure things
Yeah,
out,
you're
not actually enjoying
Enjoying it, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so if you get take a second, while we're talking about things, we got other questions to ask too.
Yeah, for me, out of this, just telling you, out of these, for me, the easiest one to pick probably would be number 4, for me.
Okay.
I'm just telling you because just out of my palate, that would be the one. But you could be totally different.
All right, so while you're doing that, don't forget the question. If you think you've got any, just let us know. We're going to reveal them here in a second. Do you think there is going to be a burst of the bourbon bubble, or what we call the burble?
Yep.
I think that is unavoidable because the inflation of that bubble was way too rapid, and the onset was pretty spectacular.
It seems like the ceiling keeps getting pushed higher as it just keeps going up, and we're finding a new height to the
Yeah.
ceiling each time.
And here's my concern is that they are going to find ways to artificially keep that bubble inflated even as things fall off from underneath it. What I mean by that as
Make things popular, make things that you want to chase. Keep it exciting.
Use the gimmicks.
Yeah,
Real
yeah.
gimmicky.
Use
That's
marketing
right.
to the advantage that it has. Like, go ahead and produce that one time, one situation where everybody must have it. You know?
Or equally, decrease supply so that the demand stays with that supply so that the prices can kind
Stay
of
where they're at, because they're probably making enough right now to possibly hold them over for a little bit if it were to start going.
You bet.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my
I can
opinion,
understand that.
certainly.
Okay, you've had 4 whiskeys. All of them are great. All of them are good. All of them are bad. Whatever adjective you want to use, they're still whiskey. In this case, bourbon or rye or anything that's in this room or anything that Charles brought over.
Yep.
That being said, what would you pick 1 through 4 off the bat, the best that you had?
Probably 2 or 4 for me.
That makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, now back to the question. Do you think you know what any of them are? And then I'm going to reveal them.
I think it is possible that there is some Weller Pappy on the table.
That is possible.
Everything's possible.
Okay, so you got any other questions?
No, I'm good.
You want me to reveal them? You
Yeah,
ready
let's
to,
do
you
it.
ready to figure out what it is?
Sure.
All right, so
curious as all
in
get
the
out.
fashion that we started, Charles, would you mind grabbing that bottle right up behind your shoulder, please?
Well, let's see. It is.
The box that's right in front of you.
Oh, the box. Sorry. You said bottle. I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. I keep that in my
Yep.
box. So, number 1,
Okay.
little Blanton's Gold at 103 proof.
Very fun.
Okay, so number 2,
If I remember correctly,
I'll go get it.
it's not over here, is it? Nope. There it is.
Oh. There you go.
Well, Old Fitzgerald 8. So we go stark difference from the high rye mash bill, which is still not a high rye.
Right.
The higher rye mash bill we talked about in another video.
Yep.
For BT2, then we go to a wheat from Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill.
All right, so who wants to unveil number 3?
It's probably not going to be me.
I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Okay.
The control.
The control. We always have to put the control in there.
The control did very
And
well
the control,
against this.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. It did.
I mean, did fantastic. Now,
Yeah.
all right, here's the tricky part. You want to try number 4 again, now that you know the
Yeah.
3. So we're going to extend this video. We try to do them shorter now, but my back's feeling better. You know, I've been standing doing PT, so we're
We've
going
been wanting to
to
do
go a
this
little
one.
bit longer. This is supposed to be a little bit longer video.
And see, now we just make you wait till the very end to find out what the 4th one is. And believe me, you want to stay and find out what the 4th one is.
Yep. Cheers again.
Yeah, cheers.
What's in you guys' glass?
What are you
What
drinking
have
right
you
now?
had of these? What did you think when you had them? Leave it in the comments. Reach out if you want to be interviewed in your story.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have one last question for Alan before we sign off. Just like we always do, we're going to release the last one. The reason we're holding it out is because it is completely different than the other ones.
Yep. And I really want to know in the comments of this one, who's had this gold?
This
The
is
gold.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever talked about Blanton's Gold.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And I did go back and look because there was some comments or answers, so on and so forth. That video that I said I think this was my first hat, it was my second time wearing a hat.
Ah,
Yeah. So I keep forgetting I've done it one time, so
Yeah,
now I've
yeah.
done it twice.
And I just got my first bottle of a Blanton's Gold store pick that I'd like to
They had those in South Carolina about
try
a year
that
ago.
against
Okay.
this.
All right.
Interesting. So yeah.
You ready to see the last
Yeah.
one?
Well, what's going on with this?
Charles, would you please grab the bottle?
let's see.
This is off camera. We'll bring it on in a second.
I wondered.
So a little Van Winkle L23 Family Reserve Rye. So I just recently posted this and kind of gave you a little bit of a teaser whether you could figure that one out or not, see if you could guess it. So
Yeah,
this is the
that's,
L23. To this date, this is the best Van Winkle Reserve Rye I've had. And I've had several of them. It is a fantastic rye.
I'll tell you what, it's one of the best ryes I've had.
Yes, and it
I
is.
mean, I'm empty. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and all I can say is this right here was a fantastic year. Like I said, this is 2023. We just recently acquired it, and thank you for the donation for the bottle to let us use it and try it again. It was really super cool of you. But that being said, that is fantastic.
That is really,
It's
really
first time I've ever had the Van Winkle rye, and I'll tell you what, it's the best rye I've had.
Yeah, it is literally like a high rye bourbon.
It's
still
so
to
good.
me.
Yeah.
And so what I decided to pour in mine was SAS 18
Okay.
because I got to save my pours for all the friends and who has the bottle. So I can't be drinking all this stuff.
No, and it says 18. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah,
either.
and so I wanted to at least be on the same,
wheelhouse.
whiskey at least. Yeah. And so okay, here's the last question. We'll finalize it. And you got any other questions?
No, I'm good. Go for it.
Alan. Okay. So
It's been fun.
this has been great. Thank you for joining in, Alan. The question to end this with, in as many words as you want or as little words as you want, what is your end game?
End game to bourbon.
Yep.
I guess my hope would be that there isn't an end game and that it can continue being as enjoyable as it has been.
I like that.
The one thing I will say is that if the prices continue to rise, there will be an element of the fun of what we were talking about earlier, which is the chase.
Yeah.
That's going to become extremely difficult if everything becomes a Weller Millennium and everything's wanting to be thousands of dollars just for the price of admission, chase or not.
Yeah.
Just you find the bottle in there, it's going to be sitting for thousands. That's going to put a damper on some things. But like you were just saying, the countervailing winds right now of the market, hopefully we won't be chasing the prices too much higher. And it can keep it fun for the chase. But in the meantime, the flavor profile and hanging out with good friends, hopefully that doesn't ever lose its luster.
Exactly.
That's a great answer.
Yep.
Thank you again for joining in. Again, this is Alan. He's
Appreciate
with ABS, with the local Bourbon Society here. He does a lot of things for them. If you see him out in the streets, tell him to get in the store and do some work. Right now, go up and talk to him.
Yeah.
He's in the background all the time. Thank you for joining in.
Yep.
Cheers
Thanks for
to
having
you
me.
guys.
Cheers,
And
everybody.
cheers to you guys. What's in your glass? And always, please like and subscribe.